For the week of Monday, December 10th, 1990. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. Tonight, we're going to focus on that great American motorsports tradition, the year-end awards banquet. But, Bob, rubber chicken is definitely not on the menu.
I'll say not, Dave. I'm Bob Varsha. Our trophy presentation itinerary includes the Waldorf Astoria for NASCAR awards and the Porsche Cup banquet in Germany. We'll also have highlights of a wild night of arena cross in Ohio. And we'll talk with Jeff Gordon, winner of yesterday's CRA Sprint Car finale and one of the hottest young stars in motorsports.
We're also going to have another installment in Chris Economaki's continuing series on race car technology. And we begin at the Exhibition Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Promoters Emmett Hahn and Lanny Edwards have things all figured out. In mid-November, they haul in 1,200 loads of clay, build a track, race their brains out to the middle of January, haul the dirt back out, clean up the building, and head for Speed Weeks at Daytona. These are my kind of guys. This is the third annual running of the Teen Mini Sprint Challenge, and the drawing card was a host of open-wheel big names. They had guys like Mark Kinzer from the World of Outlaws, USAC's Johnny Parsons, Danny the Dude Lasowski was there. And here's Sammy Swindell himself with co-driver Steve Hahn. That's right, co-driver. Local guys like Hahn own these little cars and take turns driving and then coaching the stars like Swindell in yellow and the somewhat out-of-control Chris Esch. Now, with all due respect to the local guys, the big stars ran their main event first. The idea was to make sure the fans could see the heroes in action before the cars got all beat up. I guess that's a good theory. Well, with all that tremendous talent and the many years of experience represented here among the motorsports standouts that have been imported for the occasion. Theory didn't hold up real well in practice. Take a look at this. The mini sprint owners must have been shaking their heads by the time this thing was over. One might believe, based on the carnage that we witnessed here, that it is really terribly, terribly difficult to keep these little cars with the rubber side down. Swindell led the race 20 laps all the way, but it was not a beautiful thing to behold. As a matter of fact, it was the kind of night a lot of these guys are going to try very quickly to forget, lest their egos suffer irreparable damage. The box score on the visiting heroes: 2 red flags, 4 yellows, in an effort to run 20 green flag laps. Flagman was demanding strenuous duty pay by the time Swindell finally, mercifully put this thing to sleep, and even the checkered flag was not enough to stop all the bizarre antics taking place out there. There's Sammy winning it, and watch what happens here. If there were ever a bunch of guys who failed to acclimate quickly to new race cars, these guys be the guys. So Swindell takes the trophy, and an amazing thing happened. There was an immediate and very impressive run on Swindell souvenir posters over at the stand, and the price went up $5 a copy. And what happened when all the guys you've never heard of jumped in these cars for their main event? I'll tell you what, they peeled off 20 fast laps green without so much as a bobble. Bobby Sawyer in the blue car had a great race with his brother Mike, a battle that Kinzer and Swindell would have been proud to be part of. Bobby won it, and sure enough, the price of his souvenir posters went up too. Best team, Aaron Lemons and Charlie Frazier for the second time in 3 years. Now, we were impressed not only with the great drive that Bobby Sawyer drove, but also with the way he and his mini sprint colleagues upstaged the established stars. And so, with congratulations to all the guys who drive those little cars week to week, we named Bobby Sawyer as Motorweek Illustrated Racer of the Week. And if you're starving for great racing action, head for Tulsa. They're going to be running right into the month of January at the Exhibition Center. For their hard work in bringing good winter-long racing to all the fans there, promoters Emmett Hahn and Lanny Edwards pick up this week's U.S. Air Force Reserve Commander's Performance Award from the 906th Tactical Fighter Banquet Circuit.
That's right, Dave, flying straight over the Waldorf en route to Germany. Each year, the Porsche factory recognizes its most successful race drivers of the season past. This year, a half-dozen Americans were among the honorees. The family and friends of Porsche racing on hand in the Marks' hometown included 82-year-old Dr. Ferry Porsche, last surviving member of his generation of racing pioneers. And make no mistake, this is a family gathering.
The Porsche Cup is an idea that all the different kinds of Porsche sports, which starts with the basic sport cars going up to the top class racing, that they compete against another, and that they have a lot of fun to have a winner in this series and to come together as a family.
Yes, it's very unusual at the Porsche Cup because it's very much a family affair. Normally these are very stuffy, formal occasions, but this is almost like a family gathering.
Practically everybody in this room has been a teammate of mine at some point in their lives, and you know, everybody's friends. You see old people that you don't see on a regular basis.
Along with Haywood, IMSA Firehawk champ Jeff Perner, Bill Cooper, Bobby Aiken, and Mike Seifert all placed among the top Porsche racers worldwide, as did SCCA club racer Vic Skurmance of Michigan, who's been a guest at this affair for 6 straight years.
The highlight is being able to get over here and not have it cost us a fortune to come and visit Germany, and we get to see some of the museums and tour around and see some of the old architectures, things that I actually never dreamed I would get a chance to do 7 or 8 years ago.
As a rule, banquets are a time for accepting accolades and checks and enjoying a free meal. But the Porsche Cup function here in Stuttgart has an extra incentive, particularly for the professional drivers looking for a situation in 1991.
Ronald Yost is talking very seriously about doing IMSA next year, and he's seriously talking about having Bob Wallach as a driver.
This is a great place to meet people, make good contacts, and hopefully make a good impression. And yeah, I'd like to come back someday and take home first place in the Porsche Cup.
The evening's biggest check and that Porsche Cup went to native son Bernd Schneider, who in addition to driving sports cars has been testing the new Porsche Formula One engine. I'll have more on that project when we give you an inside look next week into Porsche's top secret tech center and see the new engine being tested.
And if you'll stay with us, we're going to come right back and talk to one of the hottest young stars in racing, Jeff Gordon. On the title contenders, Ron Schumann, the 2-time defending champ and the point leader coming in, and Rip Williams, who's hoping to derail the shoe. All Schumann needed to do was stay within sight of his rival to clinch, and he did.
I kind of laid back and just kind of laid on the back bumper of Rip. I could have run within 5 spots to him and been okay.
And while the contenders played peekaboo, looky here. Jeff running away with the race despite a smoky oil leak. So great was his domination that he was able to coast home to his 3rd win on the Mesa Marin pavement. And now 24 hours later, he's here to tell us all about it. First of all, an impressive victory yesterday. It must have been pretty easy. You like that place?
Well, you know, we've gotten along pretty well there and got a good setup for that racetrack. And then the new race car is a lot better that we have this year. And, you know, we just really click. That's what we do. We run sprint cars on pavement, and a lot of those guys don't. They're used to run the dirt. I think they just, you know, a few more laps, more time on that racetrack, they'll be right in the hunt.
You're going to leave those sprint cars, at least so it appears, and head in another direction. Tell me what's on the card for you. Are you going testing at Daytona next week?
Yeah, we're definitely interested in the stock cars, and that looks like where I'm going to be going next year and run the Busch Grand National Series. Not really sure exactly how many races right now, but the Carolina Ford cars hopefully have my name put on right now. So no, it's looking really well, and I'm really happy to be working with Bill Davis and Hugh Connerty and the whole team, and I think it's going to be a really good team next year.
We're so accustomed to the old tradition when kids from Indiana got into sprint cars and midgets and their whole focus was spend their whole life trying to win the Indy 500. You're going a different direction. Why is that, and did you ever have any thoughts about Indy cars?
Oh yeah, you know, especially like you said, being down the road from the Indianapolis 500 track. I've gone to some races, and it wasn't that I was turned off by Indy cars. I enjoy Indy cars, and I looked at the ARS series, which I feel is a step to Indy cars, and then I looked at the Busch Grand National Series, which is a step to Winston Cup. And I went to 2 different driving schools. I went to Skip Barber, and then I went to a Buck Baker. And the opportunities were there with the stock cars where they just didn't come along with the Indy cars. And so that's pretty much while we're running the stock cars. I actually had an offer while I was at Buck Baker's driving school, and here we are today.
They must have been impressed. You all set to move to Charlotte and start eating at the Sandwich Construction Company?
Well, we've got some sites picked out, but I'm not going to get in any big hurry right now. You know, I want to get everything situated and go from there.
Let me ask you a quick one about the other big Gordon who's come up this year. We hear so much about Robbie Gordon. You guys are unrelated. He may do some stock car racing next year. You get a chance to race head-to-head. Is that going to be an automatic rivalry because you're both coming up with such big reputations in the same name?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to meeting him, and I'm sure that the way he's going and the way I'm going, we'll meet somewhere on the racetrack.
So you can whip him?
I don't know. We'll just have to see. He's doing pretty well.
Listen, thanks for coming today. Congratulations on yesterday's win, and good luck with the stock car.
Thank you very much.
That is Jeff Gordon, and we're going to be back with Chris Economaki's series on racing technology right after this. Let's call in Chris Economaki now, the editor-publisher of National Speed Sport News, whose continuing series on technology and racing focuses on sprint cars.
Since the first open exhaust was heard in the early 1900s, a sprint car has been a single-seat, open-wheel racing machine with a pointed tail. Barney Oldfield started and finished his career in this type of car. For generations, with only minor changes, the look and the innards of sprint cars remained static, but no longer, as technology has finally moved in. In the past 2 decades, the traditional sprint car of the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s has added roll cages, grown wings, bolted on adjustable gas shock absorbers, installed hydraulic airfoil adjustments, narrowed the car and widened the tires, made a single rear disc brake standard, and eliminated the old outside fuel pump and handbrake. Where 250 horsepower was desired a generation ago, now today's 410-inch engine sprinters deliver close to 800 horses. We're with Rick Ferkel, the driver who began his career in the rail frame, no roll bar, no wings area, and raced through the transitory years to early 1990 when he retired to become Director of Operations for the World of Outlaws. What has been the most significant change that technology has brought to sprint car racing?
Well, Chris, without a doubt, with the thing that you mentioned there at the beginning, the 800 horsepower, that's the biggest change that's come about in sprint car racing. Years ago, I had a motor, like maybe we had $1,500 invested in more. We could travel any place in the United States and win. I mean, the motor was capable of winning. Nowadays, we have a drag strip right here across the street, and I tell you what, the guys have motors just like the drags, they're like the rail cars have it now. I mean, the motors are putting out so much horsepower. I mean, don't misunderstand. I mean, not the same as what a rail car has in, but as far as the technology and the horsepower that the cars put out, we probably had motors that put out 300, 400, 500 horsepower. Now if you have a motor that puts out 600 horsepower, you aren't even in the ballpark. The tire thing is probably the secondary thing, but the motor is definitely the thing that's changed sprint car racing as to where it's at today.
Put a price on an 800 horsepower engine for me.
Well, if you know somebody that knows somebody, you might be able to get one for $18,000. If you're just the average racer, and I don't mean just average, I mean average good racer. I should have said it that way. Average good racer, you're talking $22,000 to $25,000. If you don't know anybody, you're talking $28,000. So that gives you an idea where they're at on the motors.
What about the speed? For years, sprint car racing was at essentially the same level speed plateau. If a track record got broken, it got broken by 1/100 of a second or 2/100 of a second. Are we going to see the cars get faster as time goes by?
I don't see how it cannot happen, Chris. I mean, every year, we'll see a track record at one track or another, and we say, well, that's it. That's as fast as they can go. We come back next year and they go faster. There's always that quest for speed. The mechanics, like I say, I mean, all winter long, they're searching for it. The engine builders, they're searching for extra horsepower, and they'll just obtain it. One way or the other, they're going to go faster. You just won't keep them going slower.
It's not said, but it's understood, Rick Ferkel, that sprint car racing means dirt track racing. And the dirt tracks are going by the wayside, government regulations, you can't use calcium and so forth. Do you think that is going to see a switch to asphalt as time goes by?
Asphalt, now don't misunderstand that. This will really open up a can of worms. But asphalt racing, I mean, you got to have a lot of respect for those guys too, because in their own element, they're really fast. But they do not have the challenge that you have with dirt track racing. Boy, am I going to open a can of worms, But you don't have the challenge. There's a lot of constants in asphalt racing, more constants, I should say, than what there are in dirt track racing. In dirt track racing, there's very few constants. The only thing you know is that it's dirt, it's out there, and that's about all you know.
We've heard what technology has done for, or perhaps to, sprint car racing. And our next report, which will conclude this interesting series, will be a real surprise. Stay tuned.
Can't wait, Chris. Now, at the World of Outlaws annual promoters meeting this past week, Rick Ferkel announced several rule changes to cut costs. Carbon fiber brake rotors, titanium crankshafts banned. Titanium rods are still allowed for this year, but banned for next year. And Ferkel also announced the probability of a new rule limiting compression ratios for 1992. Congratulations in order, too, for Mr. Economaki, recipient of NASCAR's Award of Excellence, presented in New York. Now, we'll be back with a couple of final news items after this time. A proposal to name a section of Highway 41 in Madera, California, in honor of Billy Vukovich is coming under some criticism. Local Congressman Richard Lehman first proposed the renaming in honor of Vukovich, who died 2 weeks ago at Madera Speedway while practicing for a race. Since then, several Madera County officials have opposed the plan, saying it is inappropriate to name a highway after a race car driver. They suggest the Madera Speedway should be renamed in honor of the family. We have some late test speeds in from the Chevy teams running at Daytona. Ernie Swervin' Irvin has moved ahead of Kenny Schrader, who was the early fast guy down there, 194 miles an hour. And we have a couple of major rule changes that will be greeting the Formula One World Championship Series next year. The existing point system, which allows a driver to count only his best 11 finishes in 16 races, has been junked. All points now count toward the championship, and that will prevent problems such as that which occurred in 1988 when Alain Prost scored a record number of points but lost the title to Ayrton Senna. In the event of a first-lap restart, drivers will not be allowed to switch to backup cars, and another rule change. Now, if you're a Formula One fanatic, we'll close today with an addition to your holiday gift idea list. Ron Dennis, Team McLaren, is putting his collection of title-winning TAG Porsche turbo engines on the market. 10 working examples for sale and another 20 incomplete models painted up to use as decorations. The 10 runners will cost you $110,000 a piece. We have it on good authority. You can get the coffee table models for a little less than that. Get in touch with us if you're interested. We'll get you Ron's phone number. That's going to wrap it up today for Motorweek Illustrated. We thank you for joining us. Good luck to Jeff Gordon in his pursuit of a stock car career, and we'll see you next Monday night on Motorweek Illustrated.
Motorweek Illustrated has been brought to you by Mr. Coffee, still the first choice of coffee lovers.